Found out I was pregnant, surprised, weren't expecting to be pregnant. Everything was normal. It was a completely normal pregnancy. We went in for the chromosome screening where they checked for Down syndrome and a whole bunch of other abnormalities, and everything came back clear. And I remember it because that ultrasound, she said, "Are you sure that you're due on your due date," which is, I think, June 30th? And I was like, pretty positive. She was like, "Your baby is a lot bigger." And that probably should have been some kind of like thing that we should have noticed. Like now in hindsight, I remember that was said. He was 7 pounds, 11 ounces when he was born, and 5.5 weeks early. They were like, expect a 4-pound baby because he's very premature. And then he comes out and they look at him and they're like, 7 pounds, 11 ounces. And they were so confused. She was like, had you gone to term, you would have had a 10-pound baby. You would not have been able to deliver this child. I went to go check on him, and I was walking through the hall, and one of the doctors stopped me and said, "Oh, I was just coming to see you. There's something wrong with your son. We'll be in a couple minutes to talk about it." And I freaked out. I could barely walk. I didn't know what she was talking about. There's something wrong with your son, and they didn't really explain it. So the nurse came in. I sat down with my family at that point. All of them were there. And she said, "We think your son has Down syndrome." And she then listed all the signs and said, "It's Downs." They were sure that it was Downs. And then they came back later and were like, "Well, we're not sure. Even though earlier we were sure, now we're not sure." They referred us to the head of the NICU. He's amazing. That guy, we owe him everything. He then took us into a room maybe 3 or 4 days after Wiley was born and said, "So we've researched Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome. It's extremely rare. We've never really had any cases of it here before, but we found it. We're pretty positive that this is it. Don't Google. Do not Google. Do not look it up. Do not Google." And then they handed us this printout. When we found out, I was confused. There's this rare syndrome I've never heard of. The doctors admittedly had never really heard of it. The nurses, once we went and visited with Wiley and just kind of looked him over, never heard of it.
What color is it?
Black and yellow. That first, see a heartbeat.
You gonna check his heartbeat?
Yeah. How does it? Hey, where's he go?
See his whiskers?
Yes.
Can you count them?
Yeah.
How many does he have?
2.
That's it?
Yeah. All day.
That was the heartbeat?
Yeah.
You good?
All day. Mystery desperate. All day. First, Machine Hopper.
I probably cried for weeks after the diagnosis and seeing him in the NICU and just in that whole, because he was in, at first, the completely closed container and everything. I couldn't do it. I couldn't go back and visit him because I was petrified. I didn't know the chances of survival. I didn't know he was going to make it. I didn't know what was going on, so it was just really hard to go in and look at this child laying in this NICU bed, not knowing that I was ever going to be able to hold him. The support just came from family and looking over the papers rather than online. We did our routine screenings. Every 6 weeks was a blood draw. Every 3 months was an ultrasound. It was April 24th, I believe. And we went in, and it was normal. Everything was normal. They did the ultrasounds. She said she had to get her radiologist to look at something. She left the room. They looked. They came back. She said we could leave. Thought everything was good. We went out and got lunch, and on our way home, we got a call asking if we could come back for additional imaging. We went back. They did a couple more images, and they said, we're going to refer you over to Children's National in D.C. to oncology. So then we went. They looked at the images, they sat us down at that appointment and said, he has cancer. He has Wilms. So we scheduled him for surgery on Monday. At this point, it was a Friday. We scheduled him for surgery on Monday, which happened to be his birthday, and he will start chemotherapy an hour after you get the port placed. You can't explain it. I mean, I'm sure we were in denial. I mean, I remember crying, but not too much of a downpour. It wasn't emotionally overwhelming, I think, because denial. He's going to be fine. He's a fighter. He wasn't really given good odds in the beginning, and he made it through, so why wouldn't he make it through this? We were very excited. He was cancer-free. He was good. We thought everything was great. And then another routine scanning, and they found another spot, this time on the opposite kidney. So then it was the whole process over again, only on the opposite side. From there, it was different because this one was a more harsh treatment, and it was a more aggressive tumor. The first time, he didn't have much hair, but he kept his fuzz. The second time, he just lost all his hair. He had, beautiful red spiral curls that are gorgeous, and they just kept, every time you'd brush his hair, they'd fall out. The support group is great. When he was first diagnosed, I posted because I did have a couple times where I did break down, and it's 3:00 in the morning. I can't really call my mom or talk to my husband. So I know they're on like Australian time and other time over in the Beckwith Wiedemann group on Facebook. So I'd post in there, and then you just get this outpour of love and the support group. And it's amazing that, these people that are on this Facebook that I've never met personally, but I know these people. Like, I do know them. We don't ever know what's coming next. We had our scans today, and they could call us and say, we found another spot on a kidney, and we need to start chemotherapy and do more surgeries. So you don't know if it's over. You can just hope that it is and take every day, one day at a time, and just try and remain positive. I think Wiley will catch up, become a normal kid. I definitely think that he, has the social skills. He's got quite the personality. So I think he's going to be the same teenage boy that most are going to be and grow up to live a fine life.